You're how old now?
25. Just
Right.
25.
So you moved up the ranks pretty quickly. Being in Vegas, being here under the noses of the higher-ups at UFC, it's got to help. I'm not saying you've had an unfair advantage, but this has got to be a hell of a climb for some people around the country, because when we see all these, small mixed martial arts outings around the country, I don't know how you get noticed. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get a lot of these guys have a lot of fights before they ever get noticed. I mean, it's good and it's bad, I mean, if I do anything stupid or crazy, or if I'm out, partying or anything,
Good point.
it gets around pretty fast. It's funny how many times I go out and people go, "Hey, man, I heard you did this."
Oh, no.
I'm like, what?
Frank Mir is with us. He's going to be on the card. He's going against Tim Sylvia at UFC 48. Got the weigh-in, which certainly people should go out to. It's at the arena over at Mandalay, 3 o'clock on Friday. We'll talk about your match. We'll talk about UFC in general, some of the other matches. First of all, you're going against a guy, and how much do you weigh right now? What are you going to go in at?
About 250, 255.
So 255, about 6'3", right?
Yeah.
You're going in against a guy he's a giant. He's 6'8" and 260. Now, you face Wes Sims, who I think is like 6'10", so you've kind of conditioned yourself against the big guy, but what is it like getting in there with someone that big?
All my sparring partners are actually taller than I am, so that kind of helps out. I'm used to seeing it all the time in training. You try to mimic as much as possible. The thing I notice the most is just that, there's a certain point when you step in that, he can swing on you and make contact, and you can't swing back and make contact. So, you just learn to be good with your feet, and move around and utilize the things that I have over a guy who's that much lankier than I am, which is speed. That's one thing that I think I possess that a lot of the heavyweights don't. The speed that I hit submissions and I move around and I shoot shots. Some of the other guys they don't move that way. Your average guy is 260, 6'8", normally doesn't move very, agilely across the mat.
How about Sylvia? I mean, I've read some things on him. I've seen him fight. They say, for a big guy, he's about as good as it gets in terms of his defense, the takedown defense, because, a lot of the big guys, they're horrific. I mean, obviously you're not taking down a guy like Bob Sapp. No one tries to. You just try to knock him out, and he will go down eventually. But we've seen other guys who, like Sims, or who's the guy in Pride, Semi Show, who, if he goes against a wrestler, he's going down because his legs are too long. Is Sylvia at the top of the heap among all those tall guys?
Oh, yeah. I think he's one of the harder guys to take down in the heavyweight division. But, I mean, it's still possible. You know what I mean? No one's invincible. He does have a good takedown defense. So to just be doing a lot of angles, a lot of speed attacks. And a lot of guys, too, when they do try to take Tim down, they go in with you see some guys shoot shots that are, they have two mistakes a lot of guys make. Either A, they go, well, he's hard to take down, so I'm going to stand in front of him and bang with him.
Right.
That's not always the best thing either, because now you just totally limited yourself. Second is they go, okay, well, when I shoot a shot, if he hits me, I'm going to be dead. So they shoot a shot with fear, and they make a lot of mistakes. You just have to be in between and say, look, you're going to get hit, you get hit. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. Right. So you go in there, you shoot, you exchange punches, but you're looking for the opportunity for takedowns intelligently. That's that I think is the key to it. It's just taking your time and looking for the right opportunity, not forcing anything.
We've got Frank Mir here with us on this Tuesday on the Wise Guys. If you want to call in, we'll take some calls, too, on UFC and on the match and, what's going on with the sport. 876-8585, 876-8585. Sims, a guy who's 6'10", are they in different leagues? Is Sims skill-wise compared to Sylvia? Is it not even close?
Yeah, no, I mean, Sylvia's definitely more skilled. You know. Wes Sims is still actually fairly new to the sport. Sims is kind of where he is just because he's just such a tough guy. He has a lot of heart, I mean. If that's one thing I think he proved in our last fight, the guy could take abuse. I mean, he got beat pretty bad for about 10 minutes. He took a beating more than most men I ever met would ever take, you know. So that in itself kind of impressed me. I've never seen Tim take a beating, so I don't know if, he's the same way. I mean, maybe he's not, maybe he is. That's the question mark, that, you know what I mean? What happens when Tim's behind in a fight? He's being hurt, what is he going to act like?
Let me get your comment on this, because obviously I like the sport because of the varying styles. You have guys who are strong wrestlers. You have guys who have the martial arts background. Then you have, the all-out sluggers. We had Phil Baroni in here yesterday. He qualifies himself. He's got a wrestling background, a very good wrestling background, but he qualifies himself as a striker. He wants to go in and just stand up with somebody. But he did make the statement, even with a wrestling background, and I'll use his quote. He said, in essence, it's gay. People don't want to see that. Now, I guess my retort to that would be, if I'm 6'3" and 250 and I'm going against someone 6'8", 260, I think you're a moron if you try to stand there and strike with them. You have to take them down. Otherwise, it's Lennox Lewis going against Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah, I mean...
It's just too much length.
Yeah, I mean, definitely have to fight in close. You're not going to fight from a distance. If you are going to use strikes, you use a lot of body work. You fight just like you would fight if you were in a boxing match when you can't take someone down. You just fight, shoulder to shoulder. I'm not going to go ahead and stand on the outside and exchange jabs with Tim Sylvia. You know what I mean? Everything's going to have to be body work, elbows, knees, clinching, strikes from the clinch. As far as being gay.
I mean, he called it lay and pray.
Lay and
pray. And really, we brought up guys like Randy Couture, who, I really admire, and I think the guy's a genius in the ring, and I love watching him make someone who's a striker look like a schmuck and get frustrated to the point where he's patting him on the rear end, which he has done in matches.
Yeah.
It's part of the sport.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, and there's certain styles that I prefer not to watch, and that's the fan in me. But then I realize, too, that, hey, it's a payday. Guys are going to do what they take to win. And if you can't stop it, shame on you. It's not my job to do something that makes you more competitive as an opponent. It's your job to be more competitive. So if me taking you down and grounding you out, even though I personally don't like watching that, if I see a guy just shoot a double, get in the guy's guard, stay there for the whole 5 minutes throwing punches, it bores me.
Right.
Would I use it in a fight? Yeah, if that's what it takes to win, I'm not above anything. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, at the end of the night, my hand gets raised. I don't care how I did it. If I did it the whole time on my back, shooting triangles and everybody's booing, then hey, I did what I had to do to win the fight.
Right. Do you feel like the heavyweight division is ready to kind of explode here? Because with Sylvia, he had a positive test for some sort of substance about a year ago or so. He had to miss his last match against Arlovsky. So it seems like the whole heavyweight thing, I know you've been waiting to get a title shot, it really kind of grounded to a halt. We haven't really seen the big guys get in there at the top level.
Yeah, definitely kind of put a stall on it just because there was no title. There's nothing to shoot for. There's a heavyweight champion. Now we don't have one. It's vacated. So that caused a little bit of unexcitement, So I think the other weight classes were emphasized more for that reason. I mean, they had title holders. You had the whole thing. And basically, I think the weight class has been most under the spotlight lately is the 205 class. They have, probably the heaviest stack of studs. You know what I mean? You have Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, Vitor Belfort, all in the same weight class. So and you have guys that are up and coming in that. A Rich Franklin type. So you got a lot of guys at 205 that are scary and dangerous. The heavyweight division has been a little bit of a lull, but definitely now you have guys that are stepping up. I mean, Andre Arlovsky's no slouch. Tim Sylvia, myself. You got other guys that are like starting to move their way up.
You know what? I still think Rico Rodriguez should be in the mix. I saw him, in one of his last fights go over to Japan and fight. I think it was did he fight Nogueira, and he beat him. I mean, that was a horrendous decision. He beat him, so he's still at the top of the heap.
No, he's still up there too. I think only a flaw in his last fight was with Hizzo. Pedro Hizzo is still a dangerous fighter. Rico Rodriguez. You got new guys, like Cabbage Carrera. He's no slouch either. The guy has a heavy chin and he likes to bang with people, and he doesn't look like he's that easy to take down. So
let me get your reaction to one write-up about the fight. This fella up at MaxBoxing.com, who we like a lot, questions your cardio, saying it's looked underwhelming, and says Sylvia by a KO. Says that you're going to have trouble taking him down, which leaves a very dangerous game to be played on the feet.
Yeah, I mean, cardio definitely in the last fight looked like, an issue. I mean, fighting someone that big and strong, I was fatigued. I definitely was on my way towards the second win, though, I felt. That's why when I stood up, I felt actually still explosive enough to get a knockout. So obviously I wasn't totally drained. Unless you're saying Sims is, that easy to knock out.
Right.
And, the first 5 minutes of the fight, if it would have been that easy, it would have ended a lot sooner. I dropped him with a couple hellacious elbows, and he was still in there fighting, cut up like crazy. As far as...
Frank, you crack me. I got to cut you. You crack me up. He's just always composed. He's like, yeah, they make a case. They're saying you're going to lose. Tell everyone.
Everybody has their opinion, you know what I mean? And
doesn't mean anything, really.
Nah, it doesn't mean shit, Realistically... that guy, he'll never be in the ring. That's one thing that a lot of guys don't realize. A lot of fighters, first and foremost, is that I'm the fighter and they're the fans. And I listen to what people say and I take the positive. But when people have negative behind it, it's like, all right, well, I'm the one in there and you're not. And with Tim, I'm not. Everybody has what they say, and I just laugh. Because I know that it all matters. No matter what we say from here to the fight, it matters what happens in the ring, and that's what I feel confident about.
Last thing, like 20 seconds. Main event. You got Chemo, Shamrock. Shamrock had trouble staying off the ground and getting up against Tito. He's going to have some more weight on here, but now he's going against a guy who weighs 240, 250. Doesn't seem like a great mix.
Yeah.
If Chemo takes him down.
Yeah, Chemo takes him down. You know, Ken has a lot of submissions. You know, I mean, he has some tricky submissions, so Chemo's really going to have to look for that. I mean, he's very capable of, I mean, I can see the fight going where Chemo's dominated, and then all of a sudden in the last round, you get caught in something. Right. So it's not like a fight where Chemo can definitely take an easy breath. And at the same time, you're right, Chemo's a big, strong guy. I've seen the guy, you know, when you take pictures, you put your arm around people, I'm like, that's a thick mofo, you know what I mean? You know, so by no means I see him just getting steamrolled by Ken. You know, it's one of those things that I'm truly going to have to watch. I really don't know. I think both guys are, you know, everybody says, oh, they're in the, you know, they're old guys. Well, you know,
so
no,
what?
They're mature guys. They have a lot of skill and technique, and Chemo has a good camp. Ken's training with some really good guys, so we're going to see what happens.
It's all about matchups, right?
Definitely. I'm excited to see it.
I am. All right, Frank, we appreciate it. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
Frank Mir, UFC 48. It's coming up on Saturday. You got the weigh-in at Mandalay at 3 o'clock, and they've got some autographs being signed out there. Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, and Vitor Belfort will be out there.